So is there any, I mean, is there any clarification you can provide as to why you chose your own child at such a young age to brutalize in this manner?
I it was impulse. I really don't know the words to describe it because I don't even remember the first time it happened. I grew up hating my adopted dad for the things that he did to me, and I turned around and did the same things to my son.
We are about to watch the parole hearing of a monster, an abomination, somebody who was caught doing this to his own biological son from the age of 3 to 7 years old. Now, this wasn't the first time he was convicted of doing a crime to a child. He actually was convicted in 2009, but only asked to serve 1 year. You know, it's just a child. Now, even though Utah this time gave him a 100-year sentence, he's up for parole just 7 years into that 100-year sentence. Because again, who cares? It's just a child.
Mr. Long, you were committed to prison on case 171-901-465, sodomy on a child, first degree felony. You were sentenced to a minimum 15-year sentence, which puts you at June of 2032. Based off of the nature of the offense and your any past history that you may have, the board calculates a guideline date. And did you see that in the disclosure paperwork that you received?
I seen two. I seen one of 270 months and one of 209 months. So I did not know which one was accurate.
So the one that the board calculated is 216 months,
Okay.
and that is June of 2035.
Okay.
So the board takes those dates into consideration. I don't see why they would deviate from the minimum sentence as far as considering release. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen under certain circumstances. But generally, that minimum sentence is something that the board follows. And then they have that guideline date to consider. And then ultimately, this is a potential life sentence.
Yes, sir.
The board received a copy of the offense summary, which was included in the pre-sentence investigation that APMP provided. It also was included in the disclosure documents that you received. There was a lot of information that went into the offense, the facts of the offense. For the purposes of today, I'm not going to read through all of those.
Yeah.
For one, I don't want to re-traumatize.
Understandable.
Okay. But I will go through important portions of the offense, and I do want to seek clarification from you as to why and how this happened.
Yeah.
The information was reported in May of 2017. It was reported that the victim had been sexually abused by his father, who's you. During the course of the investigation, it was learned that the child victim, who was 7 years old at the time that this was reported, had been sodomized by you on numerous occasions, starting when the child was 3 or 4 years old. It came to light in probably a very traumatic fashion for everybody, but especially family members, and that his mother was trying to keep him safe from predators and things that he may encounter online. And that's when he disclosed that he'd already been preyed upon and that he'd already been victimized in this manner numerous times, and that you were the person that was responsible for perpetrating these acts. It goes on to the facts go on to outline exactly how the abuse started, and what you forced the victim to do over time, numerous times over the years. Is that accurate as to
I don't dispute it.
what
That's
happened?
accurate.
And do you want to provide a clarification as to why you did this?
Yeah. I've been trying to figure that out for a long time. I don't know. I was abused a lot when I was a child. I don't know, sir.
Did you have a close relationship with your son leading up to this?
I believe so.
You were there throughout his childhood?
I was in jail a few times, but always in close contact, except for the 2014 jail stint that I had. When
You
I
know,
tried to leave the family, you know.
you tried to leave the family?
Yeah, I was hooked on heroin. There was another woman involved. And I left.
And I was going to ask you, and I'll just phrase it this way. When did you notice that you had a deviant sexual attraction to children?
It kind of just happened. I mean, I can't really remember exactly when, you know, but there was a lot.
Was it prior to you having children that you noticed you had this?
I had an aversion to it prior to that because of my abuse. And really, I just don't know what changed, what pushed it. I don't know if there was a specific trigger. I can't explain it. And I regret it.
Had you ever thought about, or in fact, did something like this previously?
No,
Were there other children in the home?
not until 2014 when my daughter was born.
So she would have been approximately 3 when this was reported.
Yes.
Did you ever have thoughts about sexually abusing her?
No.
So is there any, I mean, is there any clarification you can provide as to why you chose your own child at such a young age to brutalize in this manner?
It was impulse. I really don't know the words to describe it because I don't even remember the first time it happened. I grew up hating my adopted dad for the things that he did to me. And I turned around and did the same things to my son. To be honest, I really don't feel I deserve to be sitting here alive. I don't know. I can't explain it. It hurts. It hurts that they were hurt. It hurts that I hurt. That's really all I got.
Have you had any contact with the victim or family members since this all has
I
occurred?
have.
What was the nature of that?
I talked to my mother-in-law. I talked to my wife regularly back when we were still together. I've tried to give her space now that she's with somebody else. I believe I talked to my son last Christmas, and mostly it's just seeing how they're doing, making sure they're okay, you know. I talk to my daughter on a regular basis. They've been surprisingly supportive. I don't deserve it.
Have you been clean off substances your entire incarceration?
No, I have not.
When's the last time you used?
January of this year, right before I lost my job, somebody offered me something and I didn't say no.
Was it
I caught
Suboxone?
hepatitis in here from using needles. I've had a hard time staying clean. I haven't had a dirty UA in 5 years. but that doesn't mean I have not necessarily used. I just haven't been strung out in that long.
Is it your hope to get sober at some point?
Right now, I'm in the Achieve recovery program. I'm doing everything I got to do to get through that and trying to take time to work on myself in the meantime. Reading self-help books, just doing the little things that may help. I'm working in culinary right now. I always try to stay working because that helps my mental health.
Well, I could imagine that looking at the potential length of your prison stay, it would be difficult at times to stay focused and motivated. Uh, It does appear as though you've had some setbacks with drug use. It does appear that you're making good use of your time. So what is did you say the Achieve program? Is that what you?
It's, it used to be called Conquest.
Okay, so it's the
Yeah, they
residential,
changed the name. Yeah,
residential substance use program here at the facility.
yes.
How long have you been in that program?
I think I went there in May of this last year, and I was officially put into treatment in August, I believe. There was the dates in the blue packet for the exact dates, but
And on top of doing that programming, you're also able to work inside the culinary?
yes. I've been attending church regularly, just, trying to do little things to help.
Did you get a copy of the uh, sex offender treatment report?
No, I did not. From the assessment that they recently did,
Right.
yeah, nobody came back and see me for a follow-up after that was all done.
Okay, so your interview was with the Dr. Chandler?
Yes,
Okay, and yeah, generally they'll go back and if they don't have time to get the official report, they'll go back and review it with you.
okay,
Did they review it with you?
they didn't.
It's a relatively short report, so I can go over it with you right now. They do some risk assessments. They use risk assessment tools, the Static 99R, Stable 2007, and then they do a records review.
Mhm.
Based off of those assessments, they evaluated you to be in the above average risk range for sexual recidivism.
Okay.
Based off of that risk level, they do recommend that you complete the sex offender treatment program while incarcerated.
Yes,
The recommendations are the main portion of the report, which isn't just templated information. The other parts, it just outlines which assessment tool and what the results were of those assessments, and it's all templated language.
okay,
Based off of your results, they plug in the risk level. But in regards to the summary and recommendations, it states that it's recommended that you participate in Preparing for Change program, which is held weekly for a period of 6 months. That's the pre-treatment portion.
okay,
And then after completion of that program, it's recommended that you be enrolled in the core portion of the program, which takes 10 to 12 months to complete. It's recommended that you enroll in life skill classes to improve your ability to be successful in the community. Some classes that would be beneficial for you include Time Out for Men and Thinking for
I've
Change.
completed timeout for men.
Okay. Now, generally,
I also tried to get into MRT, but I guess you have to be capped for it to get in, which,
Now, generally, the time frame for when you would get into the sex offender treatment program would be close to when you'd be considered for release.
yes,
So approximately 2 years prior to when you'd be considered for release. So hypothetically, I don't know what date the board will settle on, but if they went with your minimum sentence, which is that 15-year June 2032 date, if they were considering a release around that time frame, then they would likely set this out for a rehearing prior to that,
okay,
with the expectation that you complete treatment, and then they would review that again to see how you did.
I would also like you to perhaps make a note. I think treatment is an ongoing process, and I'm going through the drug treatment kind of early. I'm wondering if the board would put me in to do it again close to that time as well.
To redo the substance use treatment.
Of course, yes.
Was there anything as you were contemplating today's hearing that you wanted to make sure that you mentioned?
I want my son to know that I'm proud of him for standing up, for saying something, because I couldn't do it when I was a child. I never said anything about my father, my adopted father. I let them adopt me while the abuse was ongoing. It just, I didn't think I was worth it enough to say anything. And I'm proud of him.
Well, I do think that's an important point. I mean, it's difficult for victims who are in these type of situations, especially child victims, to say anything. A lot of times it's a delayed report. Um, once the child's become an adult, and so for him to be able to stand up to that and make that report, I think it is quite remarkable, and I'm glad that you acknowledge that today. Like I said, I would come back to you all and see if anybody would like to make a statement today. Sure. Yeah, the microphone that works is over there, and I'll just have you state your name for the record and thank you for being willing to participate for your willingness to participate in the hearing. If you could just state your name for the record.
My name is Alex Long.
Okay. Thank you for being here, and go ahead with whatever you would like the board to consider.
So I'm his mother, obviously. And, we have been supportive because he really doesn't have any other family than us. But he's where he needs to be. And he needs rehabilitation. I do believe that he has the ability to, but if we weren't able to be, at least semi-supportive of him, I don't think he'd be rehabilitative. I don't know how to put that. So, we have been there for him. And I just think that, as long as he's doing what he's supposed to be doing and completing the treatment, that, at least that's all we really want is just him to do what he needs to be doing. His son still loves him. I still care about his well-being. And it is a weird situation because when we came in here, they said victim or inmate support. And I'm like, well, I don't really know because, ultimately he was a victim and I did go and I did turn him in for my son. But, I think ultimately we just want him to get better. And whatever the board decides is what the board decides. But, we will continue to support him. So, I just wanted to put some background behind that because it is definitely a weird, awkward situation. So that's all I really have to say.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, and I'll make sure the board has that for their consideration. Anybody else would like to make a statement? All right. Well, and you'll get a moment after the hearing to speak. Mr. Long, is there anything that you would like to say in response to what you just heard?
Yeah, she's right. And if they weren't here, I probably wouldn't even try to get out. I can't hurt anybody in here, so there really would be no point in getting help unless I plan to have a life after prison. Part of me feels like I don't even deserve to be let out. There's a lot of shame and a lot of guilt. And just pain that I've carried all my life that I passed on. And it shouldn't have happened. That's all I got to say. I don't know if I can, how I can explain it any more than that. It hurts. And it's a process that I'm trying to get through.
Well, I can tell you that in reviewing all of the information that's been submitted, the information in your file, specifically the board packet that you submitted, one of the first things that caught my attention was you stated that you are fully prepared to spend the rest of your life incarcerated. And it was apparent to me that that was based off of your own guilt and shame and what you felt is possibly a fair outcome based off of the crime that you perpetrated. It's not every day that an offender says that and stands up to that. And a lot of times it's more, they're more focused on themselves and how to get out of prison as soon as possible. And it's apparent that that's not the mindset that you have. And I think that's been made clear, not only in the board packet that you submitted, but also in your statements today. So regardless of what the outcome of today's hearing is, I think that it was important for me to mention that at the hearing. I don't have any other questions for you. I outlined the timeframes that the board will be considering. They can deviate from those, but they will be looking at those. They'll be looking at that treatment to be completed. And I've also noted that you would like the opportunity, if your rehearing is sometime way out in the future, that you're given the opportunity to complete substance use treatment again.
Yeah.
I'll get all the information over to the 5 board members for their review, and they should be able to deliberate and get a final order mailed out to you here in the next few weeks. Any final statements you have for today?
No, I think pretty much everything's been covered. I think that whatever's going to happen will be fair. Justice needs to be served. And he deserves it. He deserves it. It should never have happened. Nobody should ever have to go through what he went through. I shouldn't have had to go through what I went through. My father shouldn't have had to go through what he went through from his father. And that's a dysfunction that I see quite a lot. There's a lot of people here that it's the same story. It's passed down father to son, and it should not be. It should not be.
Well, somebody needs to break that cycle, and I've got confidence that that will happen.
And that's why I'm so proud of him.
All right.
I'll start off by telling you that I did not buy any of it, okay? I've seen enough of these here. Just think about it this way. Can anybody who is a human, who can feel compassion, who can actually have the empathy to say, you know what, I deserve to be locked up in prison my entire life, can anyone do that to a 4-year-old, to their son? Utah denied. They denied, and they're giving him a rehearing in 2032. But I got to tell you, Utah had the opportunity to maybe stop this. This wasn't his first offense. No, he spent 1 year in prison for what he did to, I don't know, another child in 2009 convicted. Release, of course, in 2010. I mean, he spent 3 months in prison actually for that offense. 3 months. And then while he's out, he gets locked up again. He gets locked up again for failure to register, possession of paraphernalia. That's in 2014. And those are the only felonies that he gets. You believe me, he would have had a long list. Then in 2017, he finally gets this. Now, they give him a 100-year sentence, but it's all a gimmick. It's all a joke. I mean, he was only convicted of this in 5/3/2017. And what is it, 7 years later, and he has a parole hearing? You know, it's not clear to me if no matter what his minimum range he had to serve until 2032. You know, I emailed Sir Richard, but before he can get back to me, I had to jump in. I had to vent. I had to get this off my chest. But even if he if no matter what, it was a denial, or they might have approved and then he gets automatically out in 2032 with their guidelines. How can you put the victims through this again 7 years in? Why not wait? It just goes to show that they just don't care to even think about these details when writing law into legislation. It's just insane. Why does he not have the death penalty? You cannot do this. You cannot do this to some. You can, unless you are a lizard, unless you are a cockroach. You have lost your right to ever walk amongst us. How do the lawmakers not see this? He probably will get out in 2032. We see those who do these things get out. We see it over and over and over again. And he has the audacity to play the victim. My adopted father and his adopted father. And then even his mother comes in and says, I'm struggling. I didn't know who's the victim. Shut up. They're always surrounded by enablers. What do you mean you don't know who's the victim? Your grandson is the victim. Insane. This is not a challenge. This is not a struggle. And then I heard him say that I think I spoke to my son last Christmas. Who the hell is running this household? Lock them up too. A 4-year-old child. My son just turned 4 a couple days ago. They are so defenseless. If you as a parent are not going to put your life, but on the opposite, you're going to do something like that, and then even to have other enablers. How dare she call him? I don't know. When they said, "Are you here for the victim or support?" I didn't know who to read. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? I can understand mothers when they want to stand up and I don't think but this is a different story because you have to pick your grandson. Some of you seeing this might say, no, Mandu, he seemed serious. He seemed genuine. He seemed authentic. This is real. And I just seen, here's a few answers to that question. One is, I've seen enough of these to know that he is actually the most dangerous because he is manipulative enough to get released. He will get released. I can guarantee it. Unless they change the laws or something, and then manipulative enough to harm again, and he knows what to say. We've seen those that don't, that they're clue. They have no idea, even with the programs, they can't figure it out. No, he plays this, he plays this card. I'm proud of my son for telling on me. Shut up. I keep looking at his face on my other monitor, and I just want to puke. Believable. He's 35 years old today. Psychopath. Mandu, why can't you just take him? Why can't you just have empathy for Mandu? Maybe he is being serious. Mandu, you don't understand. And it's like, you want to use your imagination. Just envision a father doing that to a 4-year-old, his biological son. And then imagine that he did it for 3 years straight. Now you want to think about that reality and then say that this lizard actually can feel empathy? Or that you would have empathy for it? No. My empathy lies with any potential victim or victim survivor of the lizard, this cockroach. That's why I always get a kick out of it when people write in the comment section, where's your empathy? And that's like, do you not realize that the question is, where's your empathy? Why would you put the empathy towards the monster before you put the empathy towards the ones that were affected or might be affected by the monster? Above average risk to reoffend. Let's say he was a low risk to reoffend. I think the low risk, they put it at between 3 and 5% over a 5-year period to reoffend. That's their data. You would want to put even a 5%. So if you let 100 out, 5 children will be harmed, and it's more than 5 children because, again, it's chance of reoffending. They might reoffend 100 times against 20 different children before they're caught. That falls under the 5%. See the math? But even if it was one child at 1%, you would risk one child's life over 100 monsters? How do you want to split up the math? Do it for me. And now tell me where your empathy lies. Certain people lose the right to exist. This should be a death penalty case. A jury wouldn't lose sleep over this. Oh, but the mitigating factors because the father did it to him. Okay. I don't know. Doesn't mean you don't deserve the death penalty, right? But you don't want to do that. You're against it. So then make life life. Don't make life a gimmick. Parole after serving 7 years or even like a 15-year sentence is what it is. Are you kidding me? You think that he should walk in the streets in 15 years? There's no fixing this. You can't fix that. And I think that 99% are on the same line with me. And when you think about that most of us watching this are in agreement, then how is it that the 1% or maybe 2% that don't agree with us are the ones that make the decisions, are the ones that write the laws, are the ones that slam down the hammer on the podium? They don't know better than us. But they're in control. We're just supposed to say, yes, we're sheeple. Thank you for protecting us. Thank you. I think about my 4-year-old and how innocent and vulnerable a child is. They need our protection. They need us to protect them from this. So I'm done.
On record.
Okay, good afternoon. This is the time and place set for a rehearing for Mr. Paul Keith. Is it Witt, sir? I don't remember how your name is pronounced.
Witty,
Whitty. I apologize.
no worries.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Robert Samuels, and I'm a hearing officer with the board. Mr. Whitty, you'll be providing me a testimony, so I'll need to place you under oath. Do you swear and affirm the testimony you're about to provide will be truthful and accurate?
I do.
Thank you. Did you get at least 7 days prior notice of this hearing? Did you get a blue packet and have time to go over it?
I've got the supplement to it right here.
Okay. Was there anything wrong in that information, or am I good to move forward?
I didn't get to read it all, but I think everything was pretty good. Unless, it's because we just did this 6 months ago, I think, unless there's anything besides me finishing everything that you asked me to do, I think everything should be just fine.
When I was going through it, I really didn't see much that had changed other than that you completed SOTP. And that's kind of where I want to move on from. I don't really want to rehash the stuff that's already been covered. That would be a waste of our time. So let's just move forward and talk about what's in there. If you need extra time, I'm more than happy with either giving you the time right now to get up to speed on it or to continue, whatever you'd like to do.
Let's see what we can do.
Okay, perfect. So again, since I saw you last, you've completed SOTP, which I want to commend you for.
Thank you.
Another thing that I wanted to commend you on was the accountability that you've taken, and what your thoughts are about being successful if you're paroled. It seems like you're taking accountability for it. And I wanted to let you know that I've seen that.
It's been a long time, and I have to take responsibility for myself. I'm a big fan of responsibility. If
the person I chose to offend has any question about that, I would like them to know that it was my doing and it was not their fault. I know that sometimes that happens to us, to people when we're young, like myself, that I thought it was my fault. And I wanted him to know that it was not his fault, that it was my fault. If he has anything that, any misgivings like that.
Okay. Your SOTP discharge came back as still being kind of a high risk. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. It's been a long time. I know what I did. I know why I did it, and I know how to not do it again. I'm half of me is really confident that this will never happen again, but I'm also very aware of what I'm capable of, and I'm scared to death on the other half of me. So I just know I need to stay aware of what I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, and how I talk to myself. I know that my self-talk isn't always real good. And those are the things that I need to stay aware of. And if I stick to my plan, because I do have a plan, I have a couple of plans actually. I've had a plan to get to here this far, and then I have another one once I get out. Do the things I've done in the past that I know are right and that are good for me, and stay away from the things that I know I did wrong, and I should be good.
Do you feel like what you've learned in SOTP is enough?
Oh, I'm always up for learning more. I think I love learning and doing things. I plan on keeping learning in for the rest of my life, whatever I've got to do. I've still got some good time left in my life. I'm not in the crib. I'm not as young as I used to be, but I have learned a lot in therapy, and I think the number one thing that I've learned through therapy is to be empathetic towards people. Now, I knew what empathy was before, but I don't think I was very good at having it or implementing it in my life. But now, guess what? I can sit through a chick flick and cry. And so I'm learning what empathy is. I know it's been hard. It's been a real chore.
I choose not to watch those for that
I
reason.
know I try not to, but you know what? That's one of my goals, though, is to be a better husband. Because I want to go back and get rebaptized in the Mormon church again. I want to have my blessings restored. I want to get married in the temple. And I know that some of the things that I did hurt my first wife really bad. And I've decided not to do that anymore. I made that commitment, and I haven't. So but I still am not the best communicator in the world. I still need to learn how to communicate better. And I want to learn how to nurture a relationship better and do that better. Even with my friends and my family members, I still have more learning to do. And so I'm planning on doing everything I can to learn how to be the best person that I can be. But even though I have learned a lot, I still have room to grow.
Okay. So you've been on parole before, but you haven't been on parole since 2014. So you've done about 10 years.
Yeah.
You had mentioned, Mr. Woody, that you have a little bit of a history with methamphetamine. Can you expand on that for me?
Yeah, I've been clean now for 14 years. I stopped doing meth a couple of years before I came to prison. I quit cold turkey. It just about killed me. I got really sick. I had a stroke. I lost a lot of my vision. I had to have 4 operations on my eyes. So I had to learn to do a lot of things over. Yeah, I don't want to die. I'm totally afraid of that now because of what it did to me. When I do my aftercare, because I'm planning on doing aftercare when I get out, I
Uh-huh.
plan on doing another drug program as well. Even though I've graduated from the MRT program twice in here, and I plan on keeping up on the MRT, which is a 12-step program. I plan on doing that when I get out. So I'll do some drug stuff just to make sure, just to keep boned up on that.
Mhm.
I don't feel a need to do that anymore in my life. I feel more confident in myself about that I can learn to be happy and do things that make me happy, and to have a fulfilled life with all the good things that I have planned in my life now. I shouldn't have any problem with that.
Okay.
But I'm going to make, because I know I'm totally aware that I can fall back into that if things happen in my life that cause me to go into those kinds of places. But I don't think that's going to happen. But I'm going to stay aware of that too, and stay on top of that.
Were you using when you committed your crimes?
I was not.
Were you using when you were on parole?
I was.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I had to stop. I had to quit cold turkey on that.
Do you think the methamphetamine kind of heightens how you feel about young people?
It just heightens sexual, the desire to have sex, period. But I wasn't ever doing it. I wasn't ever committing crime when I was doing that. So I don't know. The one thing about that is the crime I'm here on was many years before I started doing methamphetamine. So it never pushed me to do that,
Mm-hmm.
because I had already stopped. I made the arrangement to stop doing what I was doing, what I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I, because I realized what was happening, and that if I didn't put a stop to it, that I would do it again.
Okay.
And so I made the person I chose to victimize and his mother move out of my house, because that's what happens is if I have them live, I was around him for 2 years, and I learned to love him and his mother, and I was going to marry him, no, excuse me, his mother, sorry. I was going to marry his mother. And then I had some things happen in my life that I took a self-esteem hit from losing a job, and it caused me to lose some self-esteem. And when I do that, I look for ways to get my needs met, and they're not always appropriate. And I realize how I did that in the past, and I can't do that. I can't allow myself to do that ever again in the future. And as long as I stay on top of that, I'll be fine. And I know that's how I've done that in the past. And so as long as I don't have a minor of the age that I tend to gravitate to,
Mm-hmm.
as long as I stay away from that, I know they call that avoidance. And that's one huge thing for me because it's not like they've just moved into the house and then I started to do something to him. It was after several years of getting to know him and learning to love him and his mom. And I'm not proud of that. I've felt a lot of shame about that I've had to work through. But I realize now that I can't do that. So if I stay away from having any minors living with me, because that's when it happened, then I won't do that. Do I realize that there are other things that could happen? Possibly. There are things that could happen, possibly. And I'm aware of that too. And as long as I stay away from those as well, because I know that it all starts in my mind and I start thinking about things that are bad when that thought comes into my head. If I self-talk myself into it, I'm in trouble. So I need to self-talk myself out of it because I know that it hurts now. I never used to think that it hurt.
I see.
Yeah. I used to be able to justify stuff like that to myself, like taking drugs, like being away from my family, like cheating on my wife. Things that I shouldn't do. And I don't want to ever do.
It sounds like you're moving in the right direction, sir, and that's what the board is hoping for.
Yeah, I'm regaining my relationship with the Lord too. It's been a long, hard fight to get some spirit in me where I needed it. I've never been totally down and out, but I have definitely not been as faithful as I should be. And that relationship with the Lord is definitely helping me now. And I want to make that as strong as possible in my life. Because I know that if I do the things that he wants me to do, I won't be doing all the other stupid things, including doing drugs.
Good. That's a that's a very good thing. Very positive and very healthy, and it also can kind of keep you accountable.
If I'm accountable to the Lord, I'm accountable to everybody else, including myself.
Yeah.
I know my dad told me when I was growing up, he told me this thing, and I can't even remember where he found it at, but he said, "To thine own self be true." And that's one of the things in my life that has hurt me the worst, is when I know I shouldn't have been doing something and I did it anyway. That hit me harder than anything I've ever done in my life, because I crossed my own boundaries and it just was so devastating to my own self-worth. And I can't do that anymore in my life. I have to be the man I was raised to be by my father.
You know, you can't do that. And I think one of the biggest concerns is that now that you realize it, but before you continue to repeat the behavior. So obviously you're aware of that, I would think, and know that that is a concern.
Yeah, says I can't justify that kind of behavior anymore. I can't justify crossing my own boundaries. I learned a lot about boundaries in the program here, and not just with setting boundaries with other people who want me to go and do things that aren't right for me to do or aren't good for me to do, but my own boundaries as well, and the Lord's boundaries specifically.
Okay.
I don't know if you know, if you're a member of the church and all and know what going to the temple is, but I really want to be a temple recommend holder and be able to attend the temple when I get out. It's going to be a hard road, but that's my goal. That's my number one goal in life, is to be able to attend the temple and be worthy of that.
Well, I think if you are able to do that, then that would mean you've got control of a lot of other aspects in your life. So that's something that I think is good and would encourage you to work towards. Good for you.
Yes, that's my number one goal.
So you've completed treatment and that's good. Now, how do you apply that in the community?
Well, I have a plan to make myself the best person that I can be by achieving all of my goals, and I have a lot of goals. I have a plan. By keeping myself crime-free, by keeping myself worthy to go to the temple, and by achieving the goals of financial and being balanced. So I have a plan to get my business going again so I can be financially secure. That's a huge plus in life. I know being financially insecure is a huge burden, and I don't want to have any burdens on my life that are going to make things harder on me to make sure that I do the things that I need to do. I need to make sure that I have good relationships with my family and good relationships with the people I work with and around. So the people that I go to like AA with or ARP, I need to have good relationships with with them. People I work with. So I'm going to have sponsors to make sure that I have good people to be around me, because I know that having friends that will help me stay on track rather than pull me down is vitally important for me. Having done drugs and been in that lifestyle before in my past, I know that is totally the wrong lifestyle for me, and that will just cause me to cross those own boundaries that I've set for myself and cause my self-esteem to go down. I want my relationships to be good. I want to be able to have a wife that I can nurture a good relationship with. One of the things that I know that I cannot do ever again is to cheat on my wife. I did that before and it hurt her really bad. And so I've made that decision and I made that choice, and I've never done that again. To be able to have her know that I love her every day and that I'm there for her and be involved in her life and her in mine, be able to nurture that good, loving relationship. I know that I never had any problem when I had a good relationship with my wife. It was always when things were strained that things were bad.
Are you still married?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm divorced
You
and
sure?
widower.
Okay. All right. On a different note, I'm sorry to repeat this if I have. What got you started using?
What's that?
What got you started using drugs?
Bad friends. Yeah, peer pressure.
Well, I think that being a family man and staying true to your wife and being true to your religion and your religious goals will kind of help you be around good people.
Absolutely.
It'll pressure you in the right way.
And that is my goal too. That's another one of my goals, is to stay close with my family and my friends, and to not ever, and have them to know what's going on in my life, so that because they know me, my family knows me pretty good, and so if they see me leaning off into a weird direction or anything like that, I want to be honest with them and make sure that they're there with me, so that they know, so that if I don't see things, because even though I'm pretty aware and I know myself really good, sometimes I can lose focus. So if I'm around people who know what's going on in my life and they can remind me to stay focused, and if they see something that I don't see, that's just going to help me, not hurt, instead of having bad friends.
So your mental health seems to be pretty good right now. Will you tell me a little bit more about that?
I don't seem to ever have bad mental health. I'm pretty strong that way. And the meaning in my life that the Lord has given me has helped me through that tremendously through these years of coming to prison and being feeling low self-esteem and feeling downtrodden and like my life was meaningless, or feeling shame. That meaning I've received through the Lord has has built me up into the person that I know I am and that I know I can be.
Okay. What are your immediate release plans?
I'm planning on going to a halfway house and getting a good job, getting enough money to go out, get me a place and get my business going. And I'll start that off slowly if I have to. I know my brother's told me that he's got several thousands of dollars worth of work for me lined up already. So that's my plan, is to get things going, get my business going again. And eventually, one of my goals so that I can give back to the community is to work with disabled veterans. I'm a veteran. I have a 100% disabled brother that's a 100% disabled vet. And I hopefully, eventually, that's what I want to do, is help disabled veterans and disabled people in general to be able to live a more convenient lifestyle, putting ramps in for them, building things in their homes that will help them do it. So I'm planning on getting a business that will probably need to have some financial support from the community and things like that. I'll be there to do whatever I can and to help people that I'm in a good, positive way, in both and in spiritual ways and in financial ways, if I can, and do whatever I can that way. And I think that will provide a good living for myself and help in community service as well. And I'm hoping to be able to not be a missionary again, but I'd love to be able to do that kind of service work for the church and through the community.
Okay, so you'd mentioned that you're gonna go to a CCC, and what are you gonna get a job in to start with?
Whatever I can get. Yeah, whatever's available. I'm a skilled laborer. I can do construction. I can do mechanic work. I've always been able to do pretty much whatever I wanted to do. And though I'm not as young and spry as I used to be, or as strong as I used to be, I'm still capable. And from what I hear, there's a lot of jobs out there.
Excuse me, there really are. So,
I've never had a problem in that area.
yeah.
I'd even go back to work in a coal mine if they'd let me. That was a great job. I loved it.
You're a brave man.
Oh, hey, it's true. It's true. I am a brave man. And there are some things that you got to work for. You know what? I learned a lot when I worked in the coal mine. You have to be ever vigilant, and you have to stay focused and remain focused, because you can lose your life in a job like that, in a place like that, and from very many different. What's that?
That and you've got to trust other people.
Yes, you have to have a good team around you too. And so people have been able to guide me while I was there, and then I was able to guide other people there to stop them from hurting themselves. I actually guided a guy that had just come into the coal mine for one day, and he went and sat under a piece of rock that he shouldn't have been under. And I said, "Hey, check that out." And he looked at it, and he moved. 5 minutes later, that rock fell, and it would have hurt him really bad. So those are the kinds of things that help me to remind me to be a support to my people around me, the people that I'm working with and the people that I live around.
Okay, let's wrap this up now.
Okay.
What are you going to be doing for aftercare?
MRT and whichever group. I'm hoping that my old therapist is still alive. I don't know if she is or not, but if not, I'll be able to do an aftercare probably in Pride. I worked for Pride Transport and Pride Counseling. I may go to Pride again. They were good for me. I don't know if my therapist, like I said, is still alive. If not, I will be able to go to one of my old therapists that were good for me, that didn't put up with any crap from me and made sure that I was looking at things in a straight manner, which is good. I need people that are strong in my life, and I need strong therapists. And I don't know if you know the name of Molly Prince,
No.
but She is, I don't know if she's still doing therapy or not. I know she does the UPenn letter. She's the head of the UPenn, but she used to be my personal therapist. I think I will look her up again and see if she's willing to do that, if she still does it. If not, then I can get a new one. I have no worries about that. That's always been easy, and I've never got behind on my bills to those or anything like that in the past. So I'm looking forward to being able to just learn all I can and be the best person I can be.
Okay. Let's end it on that.
Okay.
What's going to happen next is I'll get my report and recommendation to the board by the end of the day tomorrow. Now, the board's the 5-person panel, as I'm sure you're aware, and it takes 3 board members to be in agreement for them to come to a decision. It's been taking us about 2 to 4 weeks to get decisions out in the mail, so I would expect probably around 3 weeks for them to have a decision to you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all your hard work, and I wish you the absolute best. And remember to communicate and use your support, and if you're struggling, to reach out for help.
Reach out for help. That's exactly what I was going to say. Reach out for help whenever I feel I need to.
Best of luck to you, Mr. Whitty. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Samuels.
Okay, so we don't have a finalized decision. What Sir Richard here put in the spreadsheet is that they're going to do a paper review scheduled for the final day of the year, basically, or it has to happen by that time. And they want to track a pending write-up that he has to see if he'll be a charge. So we don't know the answer. But either way, I am disturbed. Do you know that he is a serial offender? Do you want to know that he was initially convicted all the way back in, let's see where it is, 1996 for full-on SA of a child. He's not supposed to have an EOS date from this charge till 2093. It was SA, sodomy, aggravated SA, and guess what happens with that one? Remember, this is 1996. He gets paroled in 2001. So he served 5 years of that 100-year sentence. And it takes just 1 year from that date for him to get a warrant for his arrest for violating the conditions. And since then, he's in and out, in and out, in and out of prison. I'm reading it here from what Sir Richard had. Violation, parole hearing in 2002. He gets revoked. But then he gets granted in 2009. They issue a warrant for his arrest in 2013. Then he gets in 2014, because remember, he keeps violating his parole, he picks up this charge. The same exact charge, aggravated SA of a child. Now he has an EOS of 2114. So he gets another 100-year sentence. Remember what we said about gimmicks? This is an insult. How can someone get 2 100-year sentences and be up for parole again? Make it make sense. You know, you listen to him, and I can't tell if the parole interviewer was mocking him. You know, it's like when he's like, yeah, I'll work in a coal mine. And the parole interviewer says, wow, you are a great man. And he says, yeah, I am a great man. And the first thing I think of, I don't know if you're familiar with Alex Rosen with Predator Approachers, how every time he asks someone, what do you do for a living? And he says, wow, I respect the hell out of that. No matter what your answer is. And I'm hoping that the parole interviewer is doing that kind of mockery. And, you know, in the sense, he's okay, we're going to wrap, but I can't figure him out. You know, I've seen now a bunch of hearings. You probably see much, you know, the number that I see that I don't show you, I've seen some where he's gotten really angry and where he's like been visually upset. And that made me, but I've seen others where he says things that I just don't know if what he means by it. And so it's hard for me to know. Think about it. He claims he's completely sober when committing this crime. The scariest thing that brought the chill down my spine, and Sir Richard has it in the notes, and then I'm listening to it when he says these guys they're so nasty, they're so disgusting. Where he starts off to equate himself as the victim. We aren't to blame for what happens in our youth. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound familiar? Is this the stuff that they're teaching them in the programs, where they can make themselves the victims? I don't know. Sounds kind of familiar. My self-talk isn't really good. If I stay away from the things in the past that I did wrong, I should be good. And then he has the Freudian slip. You know, I had to kick the mother out of the house and her son. What a clown. I have to be. He's the hero. I learned to love him. I was going to marry him. I mean her. And he laughs about it like a child. He's talking about loving him. He's talking about marrying him. Are you kidding me? Like, I just, it was, don't know how old he was, but child. And this is what they do, you know, and he's talking about it. He like, I won't cheat on my wife. It was so bad of me to cheat on my wife. And it's like, is he talking about cheating on his wife with her son? Is that what he's saying? And I'm thinking that the whole time. That's probably what he means. And he you know, this is, again, it's another psychopath. He doesn't really quite understand, I think, how to show empathy. Doesn't know how to show empathy. He gets lost in his banter, talking, laughing, giggling, you know, saying things like, I love them, I was going to marry him, I mean her, I mean, you know, like, he trying to boil it down to what he did wrong was cheating on his girlfriend, not sexually assaulting a child. And these are the monsters that, and I think, you know, I have a feeling they're going to let him out. We'll keep track of this case for you. And that's not an empty promise. As long as Sir Richard is healthy and able to put these in the spreadsheets for me, we'll keep track. If Sir Richard was not able to do this, I wouldn't make those promises because it's impossible. But we are lucky to have Sir Richard here. Oh, I do see it here in the notes. Let's see. Yeah, first time pay-per-view coming up next month. So probably going to want to hold off. Oh, okay. That's so funny, actually. While I'm doing this to you, I now see in the notes, it's buried in the notes, Sir Richard says, this is too funny. Let me show it to you so you know what I'm talking about. I'm actually going to show you so you know that I'm not making this up. These are, here's the spreadsheet, right? So this is our cockroach here. Oh, whoops. This is, what is his name? Paul White. Right. So this is our cockroach. I'm actually going to highlight it now because this is what I just did. 11/25/2024. And then, you know, we have the notes, we have the links, we have where they show the decision. See, here's the review. This entire record. I don't know if you can see this clearly. And then what I do to make it easier for me to keep track is I put it in this doc. And then I have everything here in this doc, right? All these notes. But while I'm reading this to you, he has it right here. Dude got it right the first time. That being said, he has a pay-per-view coming up next month, so probably going to want to hold off. So I'm not supposed to do this stream until we're able to tell you their decision. So I've got my alarms that I know I'll have to link them together as soon as the decision is made. So I already have done the recording, and I wanted to melt it in with this recording. So I'm going to play it anyways, and I'll pin the decision in the comment when Sir Richard's alarm goes off so that you'll have it. But, you know, it becomes exhausting. You do these hearings, you do them all day and you do them all day. And then, you know, and now again, let's remember the first hearing that we saw, and let's realize that these are kind of like the same lizard people, the same cockroaches. They're just, some of them have gotten more skilled at trying to manipulate the board. Some of them have gotten better at articulating themselves. Some of them have have been able to avoid the Freudian slip, and others haven't. It's just about trying to fine tune their lizard, or trying to hide their lizard nature. And these monsters, they can't. But they took a risk on him, when he did it, 30 years ago. What's the big deal? And now he goes, and somehow, how does he, even when he's on parole, how is he even allowed to be with a woman and a child? That is either he violated his agreement, parole completely screwed up on him, like probation, the parole officer, something's wrong. None of it's adding up. They shouldn't have been able to even been in this house. But we are finding out more and more that Utah has a really broken system when it comes to watching and protecting. They're like more disorganized, it seems, in other states. And there you have it. This is why we bring this to you, because I think only with everyone being aware of how broken the system is, that's the only thing that will eventually bring change. Otherwise, it's just everybody's just sleeping. They're just sleeping on the job, because again, who cares? It's just children. With that, I'll let you go.
Okay.
So I made the person I chose to victimize and his mother move out of my house, because that's what happens is if I have them live, I was around him for 2 years, and I learned to love him and his mother, and I was going to marry his mother, sorry. I was going to marry his mother.
Well, somebody needs to break that cycle, and I've got confidence that that will happen.